Hello and welcome to another threat update. Joining me today is Ryan O'Boyle, who we all know and love from previous threat updates. Ryan's going to talk about something a little bit different today. He's going to walk us through some of the steps that he takes when he's doing an investigation. So Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead and kick it off. So you get called into investigation, airdropped in, you don't know what's going on. Where do you start at?
Thanks, Kilian. Yeah, sometimes we get thrown into these investigations pretty quickly. We might have some background, we might not, and sometimes we just have to figure out, what do we know and what don't we know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a pretty simple methodology that we can follow that's been pretty successful for the team so far. Start with the piece of information that we do know, and then start to build out from there. So let's say, for example, we have a specific user in question or a specific device in question. Let's focus everything around that first. Let's start on the user side. Maybe we have a user that affected being compromised. I might want to look at, first of all, what kind of data did that user interact with around that period. I might also want to look at what devices did that user interact with around that time period. And then from there, I can start to pivot, from the user to the device. I can move to the device's perspective, and I start to take a look at, what other users were on that device around that same time period. And if I do find others, we can pivot again back to the user's perspective. And, over time, we can slowly start to put this really nice list of users, this really nice list of devices. And as we're going through all of that, we can also start to build out the data impact across all of those different items. And this starts to give us a really good, almost tree or kind of a branching effect that we can go after to start to catch as much data as we can. And oftentimes we find some really interesting things as we go through it.
That's really cool. So what systems are you using during this? Are you pivoting to external systems during the investigation, or how does that look for you?
Actually, a lot of this I do right within Varonis, maybe starting with an alert, but oftentimes just running queries within the web interface. And then, once we've built out that really nice list of users and devices, let's say we focus on the devices. From there, maybe we can start to cross-reference against other machines. Maybe we go to the SIM or check into our EDR or endpoint detection and start to look at those host names, or if we're working off of IP addresses, we can do that too. But generally start with Varonis and then see if we can pivot elsewhere.
That's really cool. So just to summarize for the audience, start with that information, build the tree out even before going outside of the system, and then use the information that you've gathered up and you have that tree before you even go to the external systems. Is that correct?
Exactly. Actually, one thing to add, focusing on the data side,
Mm-hmm.
I also like to reference things like data classification results.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we have a list of files and folders that were touched by this subset of users around this period of time. We can run searches on whether or not there is any sensitive data inside too. Really quick and easy, and it's a great way to start to understand the scope of our impact.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ryan. Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the thread update. Please stop by and see us again next week. Ryan, thanks for joining us. Take care.